In this final project of our introductory chapter, we're going to build a simple plugin that will allow the user to see relevant articles that are within a category. I will comment this out, and let's quickly go over our game plan. Each blog posting receives a category. In this case, our sample posting is in the business category. At the very bottom, I would like to append additional article links that are also within the business category. Now, the parameters are that the additional links cannot contain the current posting for obvious reasons, and also they must be limited to that category only. The third parameter is we must take into consideration the possibility that the blog posting received two categories. You can post in multiple categories, so we must compensate for that. For example, if this article was posted within the business and personal category, we would display any amount of articles that are within either of those categories. Let's get started. I'm going to scroll down a few clicks and we will add a filter, and we're going to filter the content because we need to add a list of links after it. The next step is to determine whether we are on a post page. For example, if we are on an overview page, and I have lots of dummy links here, we certainly don't want to display a list of additional links within each posting. We only want that when you are on the single page. If you've developed a WordPress theme before, you are familiar with the term is single, a single post. So let's test for that. If not is singular, meaning if it's anything but a single post or a page, in that case, just return the content because we don't want to do any modifications at all. Next, we need to retrieve information about the post. We want to figure out what the current category is. One way to do that is to create a variable called terms, and we will say get the terms. And get the terms is a WordPress function that will retrieve the terms of a taxonomy. Let's take a look at the WordPress codex. It accepts two parameters. The first one is the ID of the post ID. And the second parameter is what is the taxonomy that we're trying to retrieve. Now, if you're not familiar with the word taxonomy, we're going to go over that in a future chapter. For now, think of it as a way to classify postings. So if we would like to grab the ID of the current post, at the very top, I'll create a variable called ID, and this will be equal to the ID. Again, if you've ever developed a WordPress theme, you'll be familiar with that function. However, in this case, we want to store that value within a variable, and that will not work because this is meant to be printed out. To store it, we can use the get the ID function instead. We will now pass that ID in, and the second parameter is what is the taxonomy that we're retrieving? Category. So let's take a look at this. Let's print our terms. Come back to our posting, and if I refresh the page, you're going to see this big mess. If we view the source, here's a quick tip. If you view the source, you can see it stylized, like so. Now, I want you to note that it is an array of objects, and each object contains information about the current taxonomy. You can see that the taxonomy is category, and it also contains the category ID, and this is important. Also, watch what happens if I go into a post, and we'll say corporate blog post, and I'm also going to add another category of personal. I will update that. And let's go and view that one. If I view the source here, you will notice that now we have an additional object. It's going to display an array for every category that is assigned to the post. So in this case, the category ID of the business category is 4, and the category ID for the personal category is 3. This is important because when we generate a custom loop, we need to know the category IDs that we are searching through. I'm going to create a new variable called loop, and this will be equal to a new instance of the WP query class. This is a method that allows us to run custom queries for WordPress posts. Within it, we're going to pass an array, though you could also use a string version. Now within this array, we can pass our parameters. For example, how many posts do we want to return from this query? We don't want to display all of them. Maybe we only want to display 3. And we can use the posts per page parameter, and we'll set that to 3. Next, we need to tell it what category IDs are we searching through. Well, we need an array because there could be multiple category IDs assigned to the current posting. So we know that terms contains a big array of all of these objects. So why don't we create a new array and fetch the category ID for each one? Cats equals array, and we'll say for each terms as term, we'll add a new item to the cats array, and that'll be equal to term, and we want to grab cat ID. Now, cats is an array that contains 4 and 3. We can now pass this to our custom WP query by saying category in cats. I want you to notice that I'm using 2 underscores here. That is intentional. That is the way you phrase it. Category in. And this means what categories? We are limiting the posts that are returned to specific category IDs. In this case, we're limiting it to category ID 4 and 3. Let's leave it at that for the time being and now run through our loop. And if you've developed a WordPress theme before, this will look familiar to you. If loop have posts, we're going to take the content. Remember, the content is equal to the existing posting, and we're going to append to it. And we're going to use that by doing period equals, add on to it. We'll add an h2 tag that says you also might like, and then we'll create an unordered list, and let's give it a class, and we'll give it a class name of related category posts, something that the theme developer can hook into if they need to. Next, let's filter through those posts. While loop have posts, loop the post, and again, we will add a list item containing that particular link. We will create a list item here, and within it, an anchor tag, like so. Now here, we need to display a permalink to the post. However, we can't simply do the permalink. And the reason is because we are storing this in a variable rather than displaying it on the page. Instead, we want to make sure we use get permalink. Next, what is the value of this anchor tag? It's going to be the title. And again, we will use get the title. Lastly, we are finished with our while loop. We've filled this unordered list up with 3 list items, a maximum of 3 list items. And now we are simply going to close out our UL. Always a good practice to reset that, WP reset query. And lastly, we're all finished, so let's return the modified content. Let's save that and check it out. Refresh this page, and we have a quick mistake, WP query have post. That should be posts. One more time, refresh the page, and now we have a list of links that are within this category. Now let's go back to the home page and look at our posts. We have 2 within business and personal. Let's look at one that's only in the personal category. I'll click here. And if we did everything right, it should only display other postings that have the personal category ID. And as you can see, that is the case. Just to make things more easy to understand, let's go back and make sure that all of these business posts are limited to business. That'll make it easier to see the effects. Now, I'm going to view this, and it will only display additional postings within the business category. And it's doing that, to clarify, because we created a custom loop that only queried from the current category of that post. Now, the one last problem is, notice how when I refresh the page, it displays the same 2 links every time. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just get random postings? Okay, we can do that by passing order by, and the order is going to be rand. Now, if I refresh the page, you'll see that the order is different every time, as you can see right there. Now, the last problem I see here is one of our rules. Notice that the posting is called corporate blog posting, but additional links is also linking to that same post. That's not smart. We need to specify, nope, you need to filter out the current post ID from the query. And we can do that easily by passing another parameter, post not in. And now we're going to pass in an array of posts not to bring in. In this case, we only want to pass in the current ID. Again, notice that we're using 2 underscores. So to quickly go through this array, how many posts are we returning? 3. Are we returning posts that are only in a specific category? Yes. Well, then we need to know what IDs those are. Here they are. Next, what is the order that we should display them in? A random order. And then finally, are there any posts that we should not display? Yes. We need to pass an array and pass in a comma-separated list of all of the IDs not to display. In this case, only the current page. And now if I save that, refresh, it will not display the current posting. And you see here, we only get 1 because there aren't that many posts on this page. If we would like to check out a personal posting, you can see that now we have 2. And that has been your crash course into WordPress's action and filter hooks.